if I don't say it, right, you're aware of it.
Mhm.
Okay. Oh, how do I pronounce your name properly? It's I think I'm right, but
Soed.
yeah, yeah. Soaad Hossain, right?
Yes, you got it.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just making sure, everyone. Okay. Welcome, Soaad Hossain, to Safe Space Cafe, and Soaad is a candidate for mayor of Toronto. And welcome, Soaad.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, David. It's great to be here.
Yeah, great. And okay, so we'll get ready to it here. So, you're running for mayor, and so what and where do you work currently?
So currently, I work as a project manager for a tech company called Environics Analytics. So
Oh,
I
yeah.
deal with a lot of their technical projects. And long story short, basically, is using the technologies and the policies and strategies that are in place and optimizing them so that way it works better for the company in terms of the operations, sales, and other processes that they have to deal with on a day-to-day basis.
Oh, see, so really, you're a shoo-in for mayor from your position, project management and all that, and especially with technology. That's outstanding. I tried to look at what you did prior, but it was hard to find online. So thank you. Okay, so your clients or your boss, and that how do they feel about you running? Like, as a personal note.
They're very happy to see someone in the company running, especially like a young person as well too. It's kind of interesting too because they share a very similar opinion as many of the people that I've been canvassing to has been sharing, which is that um, seeing someone young and seeing someone different running for elections, and seeing this different person running in elections, and hopefully seeing that person win, you can see different results from what you're seeing right now. So just seeing that final outcome and the possibility that it can actually get realized is something that they were very excited to see. So as soon as I told them that, they're like, okay, yes, finally someone that's different from like the people we see regularly, but then someone we know that's like able to get the job done, actually running for a position, and the mayor on top of that. That's fantastic.
No, you're right. People with similar histories, or give it that, right? Big red faller can and all that. It's hard. They can, but it's hard to get out of your bubble to think outside your bubble. And that I agree with you on that. It is time for Toronto's diversity,
Mhm.
and not just it's not just about what your culture is. It's also about your background of work. And yeah, and you being young. Yeah, that sounds great. You've actually kind of sold me here. So well, I guess you kind of said it, but why are you running for Toronto? Like, what's your impetus for this?
So why am I running for the city of Toronto? So let's take a step back and look at what the current situation is right now, right? So we have a bunch of individuals, a bunch of organizations, nonprofits, and even for-profits as well, too, all advocating for needs and issues in Toronto, right? So affordability is a very popular example, housing affordability being one of them. Transit and just getting around the city is another example. Homelessness is another problem. And the list continues to go on, right? And the problem is that we're not seeing the government take the correct actions needed to address those issues. And as a result of that, we're seeing all these issues start not only are getting worse, but are getting exacerbated as well too, right? So in fact, I was just reading an article yesterday, and it was basically about how rent prices is over 28K. Like the average rent price for condos is over 28K. So it's like we just have seen it. Affordability was already bad going in, like these past couple months, and now we're like for rent, for example, and then now we're seeing it go even much more worse. In fact, too. So it like every single day that we keep on waiting for like the government to be able to make some changes, we're just seeing things getting worse and worse by the day. And that's exactly why I'm running. I want to be that person to take the actions needed to make these changes happen. So that way all the needs of the people in the city of Toronto are being met, and then livability altogether in Toronto is much more better. So making it easier for people in Toronto to live in Toronto.
Yeah, you really hit a really good point, and that's something that I try to emphasize on the channel is, well, okay, I was in St. Catharines. This is 120,000 people, whatever. Tiny little, tiny. It's like a burb, right? And there's a park. It's a really nice park that had this thing that was called the Love Canal. So I wanted to go for a walk in it, and I hadn't been there in 15 years, and it was awful. There was tents everywhere. There was a guy. It was really really bad. But the homelessness was really the number one thing. And second, I was down in that park for the afternoon kind of thing, and I didn't see one cop down there, but I seen about five crimes, and just to me it was like I was astounded. Such a beautiful place in the center of the city that basically got taken over. But luckily, there was still some nice people of the world walking their dogs in that park and stuff. So it's very Canadian, you know what I mean? They didn't take it
Yeah.
over completely because people are the good people of the neighborhood. You know, there's a really nice neighborhood on the end, like, you know, very large houses. And they were all the people I talked to were said, yeah, it's a problem, but they don't really bother us too much, which is I was astounded at that. Though it's getting worse as time goes on, right? As it grows. Okay, so do you have a team, and who's on it?
Yeah, so I do have a team of volunteers that I'm working with right now. There are more people within the community, so and it's not any big figures um, that have like prominent names within like Toronto for people to identify. But I do have like a group of volunteers that live in the city of Toronto that also work as well too. That's working with me in my campaign.
Okay. Okay. Great. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Sorry, I just hit my speaker box here. Okay, that's great. So you know, you have your team. So what are your strategies to win here? What's your plan going forward?
Yeah, so it's a bunch of it's like a multimedia approach kind of, or a multi communication approach. So this has to do with some of the things that like every other candidate is definitely doing. For example, going door to door and then speaking to people, canvassing. Long story short, as like one process, reaching out to the media and doing interviews and helping spread both like the word and my platform and myself, just like to the public, and then be able to answer their questions. Other parts as well too is engaging with different nonprofit organizations. I'm assuming other candidates are doing this as well too, but I could be wrong on that. But I know for me, I am reaching out to other or nonprofits and other entities to better be able to understand them and then be able to get their support as well too in the process, and increase outreach. But then one of those things specifically that I'm doing is I am reaching out to specific religious organizations to be able to understand their needs as well too, and then to be able to engage with people in the different communities there. And then also I'm reaching out to people that are homeless, like in downtown Toronto, for example. So I do like myself, I do live in Toronto as well too. So just like interacting with people in there, for instance, just to be able to understand a little bit more from where they're coming from. That's something that I'm also looking into as well. And then using different sorts of media platforms, so social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and then slowly moving on to Reddit as well too, and some other platforms is what I'm also using as well too, and also using different channels, advertising channels when possible. Of course, like there is things I need to look into for funding and all that, because all of this stuff does cost a lot of money to do if you're trying to do it properly. But it is strategies that I'm currently implementing right now. Can't hear you again.
There we go. Three's a charm.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, you have a 5 point plan, which is great, and especially with your technological background, I imagine that your Reddit page will have a few shares on it. Okay, so
Yeah.
what is your vision for Toronto?
My vision for my vision for Toronto is to make the city, well, make the city what it should be. So there's a lot of parts to what I mean from that. So for example, make the city more greener. There's a lot of possibilities to make more green spaces and within the city of Toronto. So being able to see that. The second part is improving a transit system. So in terms of our transit system, when it comes to like our city, like Toronto, for example, versus like New York or even like something like Montreal or something, like we are very behind on our transit system. So being able to expand on our transit system in Toronto, so that way it's more expanded and easier for people to commute from one area to another. The other part as well too is to make all of Toronto used properly, if that makes sense. Because right now the big issue we're having is that a lot of the activities and engagement and stuff happen in downtown Toronto, but Toronto isn't just downtown Toronto. It is Etobicoke, North York, Scarborough. So I want to see all of that being utilized to the best of its abilities. All of these areas have a bunch of different potential and offers some very unique things that other parts of the city don't offer. And I want to be able to maximize and let Toronto realize that potential and then be able to address like congestion and stuff. So that way, by the end of it, like all areas of Toronto, whether it's like infrastructure, roads, resources, program services, all of that is where it should be.
Yeah, Doug Florida had the bird plan, and yeah, it is right. The center is the focus, but it's not everything. Okay, so last question here: if you had pennies from the sky money, what project would you put into first, or what wouldn't you? Maybe that.
First things, yeah, it says very similar to basically what would I prioritize. Um,
Pennies from the
that's a
sky.
person. If we had like unlimited money, it would definitely well not unlimited, but like a large amount of money. It would definitely be improving like the infrastructure, resources, program services on the external areas of downtown Toronto, pretty much. So Etobicoke, North York, and Scarborough. So that way, those places become more as developed as downtown Toronto, and then being able to host events and activities and stuff in those areas, so we can start moving people away from downtown Toronto and more into these different areas. So that way, congestion, traffic, and all those other things get addressed in the process.
Now this sounds great, and thank you for coming on Safe Space Cafe, and hopefully we can get you on maybe later in the campaign when it's a little closer.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for having me, David. It was wonderful talking to you.
All right, yeah, great, thanks. Okay, so I'm going to shut this off, the recording. Don't forget to like, dislike, subscribe, and comment. Safe Space Cafe. And always have a good day.